The next day, Suho goes to the Awakener Bureau and surprises them by leveling himself up and reaching the rank able to be registered in just one day. The receptionist then gives him a card that states that he's an F-rank druid. With this card, he's able to open up an account and make credit transactions. He also receives a gift, a smartphone called the X-Phone 50, and it's suggested that he downloads the Returnee Control Department's app for the latest updates and schedule for the mercenary exam. She also explains to him that once he hunts monsters and accumulates dimensional energy, his rank will be upgraded to E, which comes with extra benefits and a pension. They are having some problems with the stats screen, and Suho confusingly asks her about it, but suddenly a screen pops up telling the stats of Suho. He sees that he's still level 1, which explains why he was feeling so weak. Now that he has everything he needs, he's ready to power up and go monster hunting. Suho then calls his brother to tell him about this. Junho congratulates him for finally becoming a full-fledged mercenary and wishes him the best for the exam. He tells him that he will be there after completing his job. Suho wants to waste no time and tells Junho that he's going to go monster hunting and paying off his debt comes first. When Junho tries to remind him of his rank, Suho hangs up on him. Junho realizes that his brother has changed completely. Suho starts to look around for the nearest hunting ground. There's a lineup of cars ready to enter the hunting grounds, but no one is alone, because hunting monsters is no easy task. We see a team of 5 people preparing to enter the hunting ground. 3 of the members are frightened, even though they're awakeners, while the 2 up front are fully composed. They try to calm their teammates down and remind them that they'll be official members once they pass this dungeon test. The guy sitting in the passenger seat mutters that they aren't qualified and only got in because of their parents. Suho shows up at the gate alone and is told to insert his Awakener ID into the machine. The machine lets him in, but also warns him not to enter dungeons. People are wondering if Suho is going to be alright walking in without any weapons or equipment. He's starting to get recognized by the police guards, who talk about Suho's accomplishment and how he killed 7 goblins at gate 27. Their group in the car finds Suho interesting, going in without any equipment, so they decide to chase him, but when they enter the hunting grounds, they lose sight of him. Suho begins to test his abilities by running sprints. He's definitely gotten weaker and checks his stats again. Suddenly, he hears multiple voices. When he goes over to look, he sees 2 groups fighting with each other with swords. It looks like there's a party of bandits trying to rob another group. And out of the car comes Kusik Choi, a man with a $4,000 bounty. Suho was about to leave, but hearing the bounty, he stops and wonders how powerful one has to be to have a $4,000 bounty on his head. Those who are fighting start to run away after seeing Choi because he's a C ranker, and Choi challenges the 3, telling them to come and defeat him if they can. The ones that were fighting know they're no match for Choi and try negotiating, asking if they give him everything, could they walk away. Choi refuses because what's the fun in that, and starts to run at the group. Moments before the clash, Suho drops in between the groups. Everyone is shocked as he walks towards Choi. Standing in front of him, he asks, 4,000? Choi asks who he is, and Suho replies, someone who is in need for money. Choi laughs at him and tells him that he should have kept walking. Suho doesn't even flinch, but his body freezes and he can't move. Choi explains to him that he's made a mistake by looking in his eyes for more than 5 seconds. This was the activation requirement, and now he can use his powers on him. He then orders his men to take him out, and before they could, Suho punches Choi. Everyone, including Choi, is in shock. They can't understand how he freed himself from Choi's power, and when Choi looks at Suho's face, Suho has an evil look. Suho almost hits Choi, but at the last second Choi reactivates his ability and binds Suho. He feels a little bit better and believes that the threat is over and tells Suho he messed with the wrong person. As he goes in for the finish, once again Suho frees himself, but this time knees Choi in the face. He asks Choi if he has any other tricks up his sleeve besides his bind ability and connects a fury of blows, throwing Choi through the window. They're surprised that someone defeated Choi so easily. Suho then asks the rest of Choi's lackey if they want to fight too. Choi's men decide to surrender, and they all beg for mercy, and tell them that they have no bounty on their heads, and that Choi forced them to work for him. Suho asks for a rope and ties up Choi. Choi angrily calls his men traitors for betraying him. The men claim that they've always hated him, and claim that they're worthless, but one of the 3 steps in, saying that they're all lying, and they're all criminals. He's sure to be able to get a reward for bringing them in. The criminals try to argue, but Choi, understanding he can't win, tries to persuade Suho. He tells him that if he lets him go, he'll do everything in his power to make Suho king of the city, but in return to the comment, Suho kicks him so bad he falls unconscious. Now Suho once again confirms if the bandits are worth something, and the 3 hunters reveal to Suho that every single one of Choi's men is a criminal and should have a bounty on their heads. Suho then decides to bring them in for some extra cash, but doesn't know how he'll get them all back, and so the hunters offer their car. While in the car, the hunters thank Suho for saving them, but Suho tells them that he wasn't there to help them at all, but he was their savior regardless. The group then asks him what his special power is. Suho is clueless about this, so their leader reveals that his awakening skill was swordsmanship, and acquiring tracking and hunting skills through skill books. Suho is surprised that he can learn skills from books, so he decides to go and get some kind of combat skill. They find it weird that Suho is so strong, yet he doesn't know anything about books. On the way back, they pass a portal, and Suho remarks that he would have gone and checked it out if it wasn't for the hunter's license, which he didn't have. After hearing this, the driver is surprised that Suho doesn't have a hunter's license and asks him what rank he is. He reveals that he's just an F rank, and everyone is in shock. We then see Captain Kang and his team coming out of the portal, frustrated. His team is badly injured, and this makes him angry because he doesn't want to work with amateurs and crybabies. He mentions that the kids who come from money can get awakened easily, because all they need to do is finish off monsters that have already been captured. Once they're awakened, they just need to level up by hiring hunters that will guide them. Captain Kang then asks the guards if something happened today, and he finds out that someone delivered 10 Ravagers, including a C-rank boss named Choi. Kang is shocked that a C-ranker has been defeated, so he asks which high-rank mercenary did it. The guards then reveal that it wasn't a high-rank mercenary who did this, but a noob, an F-ranker. The fighter was so strong that he fractured multiple ribs of Choi, which is pretty difficult because of Choi's ability. Kang then immediately remembers Suho and believes that he's the one who caused all this. He asks the guard where this F-ranker went. The guards then tell them that the last time they saw him was when he entered the portal. Hearing this, he runs off and tries to enter the portal to witness Suho's strength with his own eyes. Captain Kang runs towards the officer at the gate, asking which door Suho used to enter the portal. On the other side, Suho has already entered, with new clothes, commenting that it doesn't hurt when he entered the portal. He finds out when wearing normal clothes you can't enter because of the dimensional energy, but wearing these special clothes made from dungeon materials, you can. They're expensive, but they're the only way. Suho then notices a bright square, and so he asks what that thing is. His partner explains that that's the door. Doors are the pathways that let hunters enter 38 different dungeons, and the door they just used was number 24. Suddenly the door disappears, and so Suho asks what happened. He finds out that the door won't show up again until they clear the dungeon. Suho then asks him what clearing the dungeon means. Does it mean killing every single monster? Because that would take a lot of time. His partner explains to him that they just have to kill the strongest one to reopen the door. Suho feels relieved because he won't have to stay here for very long, and so he tells his partner to wait here. He then takes off to go find the strongest monster, but his partner realizes that something is not right. Even though Suho is strong enough to take out the boss and set a record time, he has no tracking skill and is worried that he won't make it back in time after clearing the dungeon. If this happens, they will both be wiped with the dimension. He knows that this is a serious issue, so he begins to search for him. We then see monsters of the dimension. They notice something, but before they could look back, Suho takes out all three and takes the goblin's knife. Piercing their bodies, he discovers one bloodstone out of the three, and decides that leveling back up is his priority. By the time his partner catches up, Suho is already gone. There are traces of defeated goblins everywhere. Using his tracking skill, he tracks Suho, finding his location. Suho, after defeating more goblins, has enough performance points to buy 2 skills. He decides to pick the beast taming, defeats more goblins, raising his performance points to 545, and finally leveling up. This causes a critical error, a data clash, and the screen tells him that additional synchronization will proceed up to the limit. He's not too worried because his stats went up fine. Using his points, he now grabs the second option, Tree Spirit Summoning. Using this skill, a fairy is summoned, which he remembers from his old world. He then orders the fairy to go find the remaining goblins, and the fairy flies off, transferring memories of the trees and grass to him. But because of his level, the transfer speed is slow. Using his remaining points, he buys skill Search and Track. Using both of these skills, he gets no new information. All of a sudden, he notices growling noises coming from the woods, and realizes that this isn't a goblin. It's something more powerful, a perfect target for him. Without wasting any time, he runs off into the woods only to arrive at the scene of his partner getting dominated by the monster. Suho shouts at him and tells him what he's doing because he's told to stay at the door. He tells Suho that he wasn't hunting, but was being hunted. The monster, focused on finishing off the hunter, tries to stab him, but Suho kicks him away. Before it could regain its composure, Suho knees the monster in his chin so hard it rockets off and hits the wall. Jumping after it, he pierces the monster through its head, giving it no chance and finishing it off in an instant. Suho instantly levels up and acquires 120 points. The hunter is shocked at how strong and ruthless Suho is. Thank you all for dropping by. If you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back with the next part soon.